Okay, so back to the flower girl dress. The straps on this were falling off her shoulders, so I had her try it on, and then in the front, now you can do this in the front or the back. I just chose to do it in the front because I was doing darts in the back. It was going to be a lot of work in the back, so I decided to do it in the front. You can do it either way. You would do this process the same way regardless. So I took the main part of the dress and I folded it up over the lace, little lace sleeve kind of thing here, to where it wasn't going to fall off her shoulders because she's really petite. So once you do that, and I pinned it in place, what I did was I went and marked with a different colored thread on the back here where that was going to end up, which is here. So my seam is going to be here where it meets the front. Okay, so what you do after you've marked it, you're going to take this out, and I'm going to put, so this is how much I'm taking away. I'm taking this much away to make this fit on her shoulder so it doesn't fall off. So I'm going to stick a pin through the top to mark that. So I don't really need that thread. If that thread should accidentally fall out, it's not a big deal. So the next step that you do is you go to the inside, and since this is lined, you undo the lining below where the shoulder strap. Here's the shoulder strap. You go into the inside, and here's the lining, and I undid the same from the lining to the bodice or the skirt part all the way to the side seam, because you're going to turn this inside out, and you need to turn it inside out after you take the stitches from the sleeve, I guess is what we'll call this little lace sleeve. You're going to take the stitches from the inside out, and then you're going to push this in, but you're only going to take it out so far to the bottom, and then you're going to take this and you're going to push it in there so that this, where this pin is, will now sit where that seam is. That's that side or side front seam. So the thing about fabrics like this, they're very delicate, especially the lining material, and you do not want to go crazy with your seam ripper because that is a real possibility. Now when you turn it inside out, you'll see where the top is. Here's the top where this is where the lace is stitched to it. So it's this little seam that goes across here that you're going to take out until you get to the bottom of the lace. So I'm going to turn it right side out again. We're going to take, now you can take the stitches out from the right side so you don't get kind of confused if you want, but it's so much easier to do it from the back side. And it looks like they had adjusted this in manufacturing it. They did top stitching on here, which I think is interesting because the other side wasn't like that. So I don't know if this has been repaired once before or not. It may have been. This was one of those David Bridal's deals. There are different types of seam rippers. I use this little guy because it's, first of all, it's very sharp. It's very accurate because it has a nice little point on it. But you have to do it slowly. When you use a really sharp seam ripper, you run the risk of putting a tear in your fabric. I actually had that happen trying to open up a buttonhole on a vest that I was making, and I learned the hard way, but because I didn't realize it was that sharp. But see, there's these stitches on top, and I don't know why those are there because they weren't on the other side. So I'm going to take those out because I need this to be free, this whole part of this lace to be free. So I usually get it started till I get a couple of them popped out, and then I can actually use the seam ripper the way it should be used. A lot of people ask, well, what's the right way to use a seam ripper? Well, this little red ball, that's supposed to help you prevent from slicing your fabric open. But the blade on these little ones, for whatever reason, is a lot sharper than the bigger seam rippers, and it's just a matter of taking it slow. So that was just some top stitching. I mean, it's not because there's another set of stitching holding in the lace itself. So I'm just going to go to the inside. I'm going to grab it with my fingers on the inside at the bottom of the lace, and I'm going to flip it. And hopefully I've got the camera angle so that you can see what I'm doing. I know it's difficult to see items when they're all in one color, especially white, when you're having to deal with lighting and whatnot. And so you want to find a stitch, and I want to see if I can use this magnifying glass for you so you all can kind of see. Oh, maybe not. I don't have it close enough. Let's see, does that work? Let's see, I always get confused which direction to go. Okay, there we are. So you're going to look for that little stitch and pop it out of there. Because you have to be very careful removing the stitches on the little lace shoulder strap. And I'm doing the lining away from it first on the inside, and then I'll separate it from the outside fabric. Reason being, it looks like this lace was stitched onto the main fabric first and then the lining was stitched to it. So, which would be a normal thing to do. I'm going to be very careful not to nick that satin edging on the lace. So I'm taking my time to do that step. Just like that. And then once I get it peeled away from the top, I can go back and do the other side. I need to open up a little, all the way down to the bottom. I don't know if y'all can see where the lace comes to the bottom there. So I'm going to take all the stitches out down to that point. And there it goes. That's because when you reposition it, it'll cause a bulky spot. You don't want that to be all gathered up. So now you can see, hopefully, that the lace, this is the very bottom of it. And now I'm going to go to this side, which is the main fabric on the outside. And I'm going to take these stitches out a little bit at a time. Looks like this was double stitched, like they thought maybe they missed something. And then what I like to do is, as soon as I can see that it's separated from the main fabric, then I can go in and actually snip the actual stitches between the lace and the main fabric. I don't know if y'all can really see how this is going, but oh, that came out really quick. Go to that little satin edging. You don't really want to nick it too bad. Get in there. It's always that last back to back stitch. It kind of wants to hold on. Okay. Alright, there we go. So now I've got the main part separated from the lining. And then this is the lace in the middle. See the lace hanging out in the middle? This is the lace hanging out in the middle. This is the outside edge, and this is the lining edge, right here. And the lace is in the center. So now I'm going to pull this lace through to where I marked it, how far it has to come in, which is right here. I've got my little thread mark right here, and it's going to end up at the seam where the outside fabric is sewn to the lining. And I'm going to match that spot up to that. I'm just going to hold it there, and what I like to do is turn it right side out, make sure it's in the right place. So, and then I'll pinch it on the outside. Make sure that it's in the right spot. And this is the outside. So when I stitch this way, it's going to fall right in place, so it's going to lay more flat. So I'm going to take that. It's easier to do it this way if you have it, you know, like from the outside, because this is the lining on the back, and just match up where it's supposed to go. And this is going to fold down over the top of it. So this seam here you want to match with the top of the satin stitching. And then what I like to do is go ahead and put a pin to hold it there, just to make sure that once I feed through this lace into that hole, pulling it from the other side, when I go to do this part. So when I stitch on the inside, this is all going to be flat. And see, that's going to ruffle really nice. So it's not too bulky. Now on the inside, I'll show you what happens. On the inside, all that extra lace part gets under the lining. It's all tucked up in here. So, but in order to stitch this properly, you have to take, just like it was put together originally, of course you got to come in from underneath. I keep forgetting. You have to come all the way from the bottom and turn it inside out. That's my mistake. Because that way you can see all the layers. You see the inside layer, you see the lace, and then you see the outside layer. So what we're doing is, let me take that pin out, turn it to the inside, or you can see the top seam. You guys can't see. This is the top seam here. Let's see if I can kind of show. There's the top seam. This gets placed there, and then you pull this lace part in. I didn't unhook the bottom corner, which that has to be unhooked to do this correctly. Okay, there's that side, and this side. So now it's fully disengaged, which is what you want. Then you take your lining side of it and your right side of it on the other side, and you're going to match those up. Now this way you only have to do one seam instead of two. So you put that little guy in there, make sure it's at the top, and you're going to, as best you can, line up the two edges of the lining and the main part the outside part. Basically, this lace is now upside down. And then you're going to stitch that tiny little 1/4 inch seam across there. My pins. I took them with me when I went to do a fitting. Okay, so like this. And then what you do is, this is the excess, you're going to cut that off, but I don't cut it off until after I've done the seam to make sure that it lines up good on the other side. So we're going to stitch that. Okay, so I'm placing it from the top of the shoulder into here, the needle down, and we're going to take a couple of stitches. Just go right down along that seam. Catching in the lining with the outside fabric. Okay. Take this out. Turn it back right side out. And I see that it needs to be moved up just a little bit. And that happens sometimes. So that literally has to go up to that spot. And it's just like 1/8 of an inch. Can be frustrating, but better to do it where it sits flush. It's kind of hard when the end has got this really thick edging on it, or bias binding is basically what it is. Okay, so I've got that position in there. Let's pin it again. Finagled it. There we go. Alright, stay up in there, buddy. Okay. Just needs a couple little stitches to hold it in place. I lost my thread. Isn't that special? It's okay. I didn't pull enough out for the tail, which is my bad. So I'm just going to re-thread this machine. Come on. There we go. That. Come on, in there. That through. There we go. Let's try this one more time. A couple of stitches. Okay. All the way up. These extra extra strings off, the long pieces. Take out my little guide thread. You always want to use a contrasting color, something that's going to stand out so you'll be able to see it. Oops, forgot to cut that one. Alright, that's pinned like that. Let's go. Get a little purple thread out of there. And then what I'm going to do, since there's that extra lace underneath there, I left it on there so that if, let me get this over here for y'all. Now, if you know that you're not going to adjust the sleeves on this ever again, then you cut off the extra that's underneath, which you go under the front, and it's underneath where that let me see if I can get that turned back out so you can actually see the extra lace in there. Am I looking at the wrong one? No, that's the right one. Okay. Sometimes I get lost in what I'm doing. There it is. Okay. Okay, where did it go? It's literally, that's because I'm looking at the back. Is that this one? Which one did I just do? Oh, it was this. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Anyway, so this is the side that I've already finished. Okay, and there's a little string here that I'm going to have to trim off. And because I left that one little edge in there, what I'll do is I'll tack that down by hand behind it. And this is the one that I just sewed. And you'll see the extra lace is right here. So I'm going to trim it down a little bit, but have it so that if this dress wants to be used for another person and they have arms where they don't have to worry about the slipping down, then they can, you know, have it adjusted at a later time. So, but for purposes of this video, if you were going to do this for a permanent alteration, you would cut this down to just a 1/4 inch of the stitching line. So I'm just going to take that extra point out of there because it doesn't lay bulky in the front. You don't want it to lay bulky. And turn it out. And so that will be the front. Once I get that little spot tacked down, that will be the front. I'll pin it so that I know where I'm tacking it down at. And then on the inside, just like with putting the darts in the back, you're going to do a little tiny whip stitch all the way across here, and then it's finished. So very simple, yet a little bit on the advanced side, but it's very doable. Like I said, you can do the straps in the front or in the back. Some people like to do everything in the back, so they don't have to worry about messing with the front. But for purposes of this, being that the darts were so close to the neckline in the back, I did the alteration for the straps in the front. This is that little extra thread, for some reason it keeps showing up back here. Get that little guy out of there. Now this kind of adjustment for straps, you can do it on any outfit, any shirt, dresses even. It's easier when it's not lined, but because you have to deal with another layer. But in the case of this one, it works out just fine for a little girl's flowered girl dress. Hope you've enjoyed this video, learned something from it. If you have any questions, please do make sure that you put them in the comment section, and by all means subscribe for more videos as I come up with them. Thank you and God bless.